Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Rivamy.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week on the podcast, we were talking about the new DC release. We are talking about Black Adam.
The Rock is back.
The Rock is back?
Black Adam is here. Mm-hmm. We were going to discuss both of those fellas.
That's correct.
That's what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
He's here.
He's here.
Are you ready?
It's I've been told that it's going to change the power dynamic of the DC universe, or whatever The Rock has been saying in every single Instagram post
for
a considerable amount of time. The Rock sure does love promo in this movie on Instagram. So we're talking about Black Adam this week on the podcast. It is a new movie. It just came out. And for those of you who might be new listeners, whenever we talk about a new TV show or film, we always give you a spoiler-free review. So in case you're on the fence about seeing it, not sure if it's worth your time, or maybe you want a taste of the episode before you get into the whole meat of it, we're going to give you a spoiler-free review. Then once you hear the theme song, that is going to be when we head into the spoiler-filled section. Pretty straightforward stuff, I think.
That's how it works. This is how everything has been set up for years.
This is your boilerplate podcast contract right now.
It's a spoiler-free section, and then there'll be a spoiler section.
Everybody knows it. So spoiler-free review. Let's start with the simple question. Diana, did you like it?
I am going to give it a like, but you watch yourself, Black Adam. You're on thin ice. It's a barely like. It's real close. The story is a mess. The structure does not work. The plot holes. This is a Grand Canyon-sized story structure holes going on here. It does not work. I like The Rock and the Justice Society so much as actors and bantering and having fun. It just pushed me over into a like. So once the Rock shows up and then the Justice Society shows up, I thought this movie picked up. Such giant flaws. I can't say enough. But as someone who's just I can't deny that for a lot of it, I was just I am having fun. This story doesn't work, but I am having enough fun with The Rock and the Justice Society that I am going to give it a like. And I would watch it again while distracted. I would watch it again while distracted. So it's barely a like, but it made it. It pushed me over the edge. But yeah, there's some weird effects. There's some good effects. There's some wonky storytelling that thinks it has something to say, but then it has absolutely nothing to say. The weird villain choices. It's a mess, but I kind of had fun at the end of the day. I'm not going to lie. I love The Rock. I think the hero supporting cast was really, really good. So I'll give it a like. That's me. Controversial, perhaps, to be middling on this movie. Andrew, did you like it?
I'm fascinated by your take because I think it's a true mess top to bottom. It was almost unwatchable for me. I was shaking in my seat. I wanted to get up and leave so much. This is bottom 3 movies I've seen of the past of all we've covered on the podcast.
Whoa, that's way lower than I expected.
There are redeeming qualities. I agree with you. The Justice Society works. There's some great casting. We've joked on this podcast before that I've never seen a Rock movie that I didn't at least like, because he's fun, he's charming, and I will throw on literally any Rock movie and get 70% of my way to a good time because it's fun. And I love The Rock, and I wish he were in this movie because he is not in this movie. He is, I'm going to say, maybe the 15th lead of this movie. He might have the fewest lines of any credited character. He's CGI for most of it. He isn't in a whole act of it. I am going to say The Rock is the least present character in this movie, and when he's there, he's stoic and mumbly and the least fun version of The Rock. The Rock's a wrestler who knows how to do big, broad hero to heel turns, and we never get a taste of that because it is The Rock's face digitally implanted on a CGI body with no lines and no heart. This is a truly miserable experience. and I could not be paid to watch it again.
Wow, you really covered up your dislike very well in the theater, I will say, because I could tell that you really didn't enjoy it, at least until The Rock showed up, and that was brutal. Until The Rock showed up, this movie I did find absolutely brutal and unwatchable. Once we actually got some like fights and heroes showing up, I'm like, I can turn my brain off and enjoy this a little bit. So I'll argue a few points against you, but not too many. I actually didn't notice The Rock didn't talk very much, honestly.
I would say this is only the
I think I liked his presence enough that I was like, oh, cool, you're powerful. That's fun.
Because I do joke, but I do think there's 2 Rock movies that I haven't enjoyed. It is now this and Hercules, another movie where he wasn't in a large part of it and did not have a ton of lines. So those are the 2. Hercules, another one where in the first act it's like, a young actor's playing him. Don't worry about it. And so there's a lot going on there. So yeah, I would have liked The Rock to be in it. I'm gonna have a lot of dunks on this movie in this episode, and I believe you will as well.
I got dunks. But I am gonna be an NBA champion at the end of this podcast, but I also had fun.
I do agree with you. There are redeeming aspects. Like, this isn't a burn it all to the ground. There are a few moments here where I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that actually. There are a few moments of pleasant surprise. And it just wasn't enough to elevate my general dislike of seeing it. Can it be spoiled as well?
I guess. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think the story is total nonsense enough that like I couldn't spoil it for you because it's not coherent in any particular way. It would be like spoiling a story that a baby told you. It doesn't make sense to spoil to begin with. So I don't think it can be spoiled.
I've got like 2 spoilers if you already know the characters.
Yes, I would say. Yeah, I would say similar.
Not that these are like the most well-known DC characters, so that's not a huge concern. But if you're a fan, you can find like 2 spoilers online if you looked.
And like most superhero movies, a post-credit spoiler as well.
Yes.
And I think that's it. Really.
It's pretty low.
Pretty low. Okay. Yeah. All right. So some disagreement on our enjoyment. Some polite agree to disagree on our enjoyment to dislike.
We're nothing if not polite, unless we get super heated, and we might.
Let's see how this goes.
Let's see how this goes.
And we don't think it can be spoiled. So that's it for the spoiler-free section. Before we get into the spoiler-filled section, I just want to remind y'all, you've been hearing us mention this on the podcast for the past month or so. On November 5th, we are going to be participating in Extra Life Game Day, which is a 24-hour marathon streaming event taking place on Twitch with all of the proceeds going to the Children's Miracle Network of Children's Hospitals. It's a fantastic cause. We're going to be doing live tapings of all the podcasts on this network. We're going to be doing interactive game nights. We're going to be doing video gaming, watch parties, lots of cool things. We're going to have prize giveaways from wonderful sponsors and partners like TeePublic and Manscaped and Brooklinen. Thank you to TeePublic, Manscaped, Brooklinen for providing products that we're going to be doing giveaways to people who've donated as well. And there's lots of different donations level. You can get all the Patreon bonuses of the podcast at $50. You're entered the draw at $20. You can choose a game I play on the stream at $100. There's lots of different cool things going on. You can see the full calendar of events, the schedule, the links, the different bonuses, the prizes, all of that stuff at extralife.fromsuperheroes.com. That's EXTRA life.fromsuperheroes.com. And that's also where you can donate and join us on November 5th.
It's going to be a great time for a great charity. That link is also in our show notes. If you don't want to type it in, you can go find it right there. And it's going to be a wonderful day. And there's no reason not to check it out. It's going to be fun and for a good cause.
Love it. So we look forward to seeing you then. Now, let's get into the spoiler-filled section. Let's talk more about Black Adam. All right, we have seen Black Adam. Some varying opinions going on. I'm happy though that you had a good time with this.
I guess I am too. I can't believe it was a hate for you. It's been a while since you've had a hate. And that's an extreme emotion. That's the full other range of love. It's you're heading to the dark side, Andrew.
It is the opposite one. Yeah, no, I'm going right into the dark side. I'm going full on. I am doing the moral journey they attempted to tell with Black Adam and failed. I'm going full heel turn, baby.
Look out, younglings.
Look
He's
out.
coming for you.
I'm doing it.
But yeah, no, I actually had enough fun that I would give it a like. I will say I have an ingrained love of Aldous Hodge. He was on one of my favorite shows, Leverage of all time, which is like in a top like 5 TV shows I've ever watched. So that helps. Having a super love of both The Rock and Aldous Hodge in this helps a little bit. Yeah, the banter was enough, and the camaraderie and the friendships were enough to push me over the edge of like, I'm having fun. But yes, let's talk about the. I will agree on some miserableness, which is. I will absolutely agree, rock bottom movie of all time for the first like 10 minutes of this awful, awful opening. Oh boy, this was an absolute train wreck.
An opening made entirely by computers.
No human being was involved.
Narration from the child, and even just the audio quality alone, I'm like, it sounds like this kid recorded this on his iPhone. Like on his way home from school.
Yeah, not even like alone in a room on an iPhone. Like he's like, well, I'm in the car right now. I might be able to crank it out. Like this audio was so bad that because it's the very first audio you hear in the movie. I was actually about 30 seconds away from finding someone who worked at the Cineplex and being like, the audio's fucked up.
Something's real screwed up. It sounds like it's playing through an iPhone.
I was genuinely gonna get an employee soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's how bad it sounded.
And I'm going to tell you, like I'm going to call exactly what this is that it was a subpar sound studio wherever they had this kid do this re-record. There is no world in which this was in the original script, and I would say that that's a big problem with this movie. Is that this movie is a series of executives doing what focus groups said and having a computer make it, because at no point is anyone looking at the camera when words are spoken. It's narration, it's all CGI, and it is entirely story that is retold in the main story and is actually kind of revealed slowly. I still think poorly for the rest of the movie, but entirely what this is, it is focus groups leaving theaters and being like, I didn't quite get it. And then executives being like, we need to do a narrator at the beginning who explains the entire synopsis of the film. And 99% of the time, when for you, our listeners, when you see any movie that starts with that, that is what happened. Mm-hmm. It was never in the script. It is a series of focus groups who were dumb people who were like, I'm confused by movie. And executives got wildly scared and then had someone record a narration where it's like, eons ago, there was a chosen one. The chosen one is the one, or for whatever, and not for any given movie that you hear this happen.
The amount of gravitas and work you just put into the fake narration was so much more than that child did.
Thank you.
That child was like, and then Harut found the big metal and he held it above the sky, and then everyone rebelled. And I'm like, did anyone give this kid a direction? Like there was not a director when he recorded this. He recorded this all in one take, no direction. They're just like, read the lines, the movie comes out tomorrow. We can't even put it through a filter to get the reverb out of it. You could make better sounding audio than this.
I legitimately do believe that this was recorded this week.
Yes.
I legitimately, with my whole heart, believe that this opening narration was recorded the week that people are seeing it open in theaters.
Because thankfully, the rest of the dialogue in the movie sounds fine.
Yes.
Like, there's no other dialogue where I was like, also on a phone, or like, you were in a booth a week ago. This is the only one, and right off the bat, so that's a bad sign. But this is the only audio where I was like, this is fucked up. And I don't notice music, and I don't notice bad audio. So I need you guys to understand how bad this sounded for me to say, this is messed up.
Mm-hmm. And then also, too, just how bad it is written.
Oof.
It is written, I would say, a lot of this movie is, but very much in particular, this opening act, this opening segment of where they open and they're like, it's 3,000 years ago. Here's what happened. Here's the origin of Black Adam. And they're going through everything. it really is like the way a 10-year-old tells you a story, where they just drop no new information with no beginning, middle, and end, where it is just, and then there was this city, and the city was ruled by bad people, and then the bad people were bad, and then they killed this person, and then that person got strong, and then the strong person was like, hey, I'm strong, and then the city was good, and then the city was still bad, though. And then there was a crown. Oh, right. The crown's made by the devil. Anyway. And then the bad guy has the bad crown from the devil. And then he goes to put on the crown. And then Strongman punched him and stopped everyone. And then also the movie then later just rewrites all of this. It's an unreliable narrator, but in a film, which kind of goes back to an I High Bylight classic, which is lies aren't twists. So they just lie at the beginning, and later they're like, what we meant was you didn't see the full story. I'm like, no, you actively showed and told us the wrong information.
Yeah, you made that narrator boy tell us a lie. It's not like you just showed us like the shadowy version of Black Adam and you just didn't tell if it was the son or the father. The narrator said it was Black Adam and he died. And all this other stuff happened, and nothing about the kid or nothing about the dad. Nothing about the dad. They implied it was the kid the whole time.
Yes.
Even though the dad was clearly the Rock. What were you trying to achieve, movie? We all knew the skinny dad was the Rock.
And you didn't show his face. And like, the only reason I even kind of bought it is I would say it is remarkable how rare it is in this movie to see an actor's mouth move when they speak. It is wildly, most lines are from the back of someone's head or a really wide shot. Like it's a wide shot of the van driving through a mountain. And everyone's like, we're going into the mountain range now. This is going to be where the villains are. And then it cuts to a close-up of them getting out. No one says anything. Back to a wide shot of a mountain. And they're like, this mountain is definitely where the crown is. It feels like all of it was rewritten after a bunch of things were filmed. No, so rarely. I'm going to say the minority of the time can you see actors' mouths move while the lines are being spoken.
I would say everyone who's not in the Justice Society. The Justice Society is pretty straight on camera. I think Hawkman, Dr. Fate, Atom Smasher, and Cyclone?
Yes.
All like their lines were their lines, although they didn't have any plot relevant stuff. They were just like, we're going to fight Black Adam. We're going to fight Black Adam again. And that kind of doesn't change no matter what you do to the plot. Mm-hmm. They are going to fight Black Adam.
Which brings me to, I think, one of the big problems of this movie, which is, let me ask you this. Who is the lead character of this movie? Whose perspective are we getting this movie from?
Whose perspective or who's the lead? Whose perspective are we getting?
Who's the theme of this movie about?
Oh, it's about Black Adam, but it's also kind of about the mom and the son, and it's a little bit about Hawkman. So 4.
And thus
leads.
Thus is the mess of this movie. It's a first-person narration from a character who's dead. Then it cuts to...
I couldn't tell if the narrator was the present kid or the old kid. Because he didn't say me or my dad, did he? He was like...
I can't remember.
And we hadn't met the new kid yet. But either way, a kid is narrating.
We do have a first-person narrator who in no way is the lead character of the movie. I'd say the only people who have an arc in this movie is Hawkman and Dr. Fate, which I do actually enjoy. Which is Fate doesn't make any wrong decisions and like accepting a fear of death and an avoidance of what fate is. I think that was really nice. They have a nice moment. Everyone else is just entirely the same throughout this entire movie, and it's just a bunch of people running around.
Yeah, for the most part. I think there's like little changes. Those are actually going to be like things I bring up in my what would you change?
Okay.
Because I want to explore them more. So I will very mildly disagree just because I want to talk about it later.
I fully understand that.
So that's going to be at the end, a little sneak peek of my what would you change because I've already got it ready.
Well, let's be positive for a minute. I'm going to be positive, and I will agree with you 100%. The Justice Society works. I'm going to say top to bottom, it works. The casting choices work, the charm, the quips, the relationships back and forth. Is it underdeveloped in the larger part of the story? Yes. Is it a little monotone? Yes. But these scenes on their own, I like the writing. I like the casting. I do think that everyone, like Aldous Hodge sells Hawkman as kind of this grumpy guy. Pierce Brosnan really does a good job of Dr. Fate, a character who, if you don't know the comics, is nonsense in this movie. They just assume you know who he is. And then there's stuff of like, oh, we used to hang out and be partners a lot, but now we're back. Doesn't really play any effect or have any emotional, but they're fun and they work together. And I love that.
They're fun and they feel familiar. Like, it does feel like they've worked together before. Like, there is a good seeding of a relationship here. I do like that it's like two old school guys who have worked together, two green members who are new to the team. I think it's a fun dynamic. Honestly, at the end of the day, it's a shame they didn't just do a Justice Society movie instead of doing a Black Adam movie, because I wanted all of these characters explored a little more. I wanted to have more fun with them. Maybe the charm is that they don't go into it too much. Like, although I can't imagine what watching this movie is like if you don't know who Dr. Fate and Hawkman are. And
I read a few online reviews of people who were like, I'm sincerely completely clueless and I'm no less leaving the movie than I did going in.
Yeah, because I do remember, like, even our own friends, I remember Baila after watching Justice League was like, who's Cyborg? And I'm like, oh, right, yeah, they don't explain, so it is definitely less enjoyable if you don't know these comic book characters. But I still think they work even if you don't. Because I had so much fun with the Justice Society. This Hawkman just slowly getting more and more annoyed with Atom Smasher. I absolutely lost it. I don't even remember what Atom Smasher said. He had like a terrible like observation about how they could save the kid or whatever. And Hawkman just looked and went, stop. It was so real, and I absolutely adored it. Yeah, I think they were very fun.
The restrained anger of like when he's like, but also when he's like, we're gonna hash this out later. Like when Atom Smasher fucks up a couple of times, and like that restrained anger.
And they found really nice ways of Atom Smasher fucking up in a way that you don't dislike him. Because normally if it's a big battle and a person keeps fucking up, you're like, oh, this person sucks. I don't want them on the team. But Atom Smasher was just like, I'm big and I got knocked unconscious, so I fell over. Like, that's not his fault. But he still is like, whoopsie doodle, I hit Hawkman with my big giant arm. And also, it's my first battle. So yeah, I had so much fun. And also, like, even just on their own, everyone was having fun. Like, another great moment is just Pierce Brosnan finds the uncle when he's dying, and like when he's been shot, and the uncle passes out, and Pierce Brosnan just does this hilarious shrug, like, what the fuck do I do with this? And it's like, you're 100 years old and have magic powers. Figure it out, dude.
And it 100% feels like an improv Brosnan did, where like they kept it on him a little bit longer than they should, and that's when it works. Like, yeah, that really popped. Hitting Hawkman by accident, but also preceding that with like scolding Black Adam for being reckless about how he's flying. Be like, I could have hit you. It's fun. It's charming. Like Cyclone also has like a nice rapport with him as well.
Yes,
like
they're
I
cute.
think that they're cute together. That's a fun relationship. I really want to follow these characters around more. And I feel like, especially where some of the stuff where I'm like, oh, it's a little jittery. Like I don't quite know what previously happened with the Justice Society, and there's holes and it's unfilled. It almost feels like there was a good movie that was for the Justice Society of America, and they just scrapped some scenes out of it and plucked it into this one. So there's like these little like these jigsaw pieces missing, and I'm like, I feel like you were in a good movie. All of you were in a good movie. And also all of you were, and I think part of the reason why a lot of that works, all of you were often in a room together.
They were physically all there. Like, even, like, none of them were very CG'd. Like, even Pierce Brosnan, I was looking at the behind the scenes, even when he's got the helmet on, like, he's physically there. His whole body wasn't just, like, CG'd in. So they're all physically there all the time. They're having fun. They have incredible rapport. Like, yeah, it is a shame this is not a Justice Society movie where they fought Black Adam.
Yeah.
Instead of a movie where Black Adam eventually fights another guy and also fights the Justice Society and other stuff is going on. And like, yeah, because if this was a Justice Society movie, I would still have so many questions. I'd be like, which Hawkman are you? I cannot figure it out. You have 3 different origins, and I think you shoved all 3 of them together from what I can tell.
Oh, I 100%. I think that's what's going on. They're just like, whatever. It's Hawkman. We don't give a shit about this guy. It's disrespectful. But
other questions. Where has the Justice Society been? We are on movie 9 or 10 in the DCEU, and you haven't done anything. Like, you didn't help Wonder Woman in 1984. Dr. Fate was alive. He could undo wishes, I bet.
yeah.
Didn't fight Doomsday. Didn't, I don't know what else we did in the DCEU, actually. Aquaman's brother threw all that trash out of the ocean. I'm sure they could have used some help there. I'm trying to remember plots of DC movies. Not easy. But yeah, the idea, because in Justice League...
The giant space star almost.
Oh, yeah. The space
Starro
star, yeah.
fucking came at us.
That feels like a Dr. Fate story.
Yeah.
That he would take care of. But yeah, because the whole thing in the first, like, Batman, at the end of Batman v Superman, he's got files. He's like, these are the only other metahumans. It's Flash, it's Aquaman, it's Cyborg. And it's like, these guys have been around since like 1980, apparently. Like, Hawkman's old hat. Dr. Fate's 100 years old. Atom Smasher has a uncle who was also Atom Smasher.
Right.
So we have an established society of superheroes. So it feels very, very unexplored about like 'cause it's weird to think.
But it does also feel like they're retconning the DCEU
Yeah.
as well. To be like, yeah, we're just going to fucking keep what we want and remove what we don't, which I do frankly encourage. Like, I like that idea of like, we don't need to do a hard reboot. We can just kind of do soft retcons. And I mean, you know, how common is that in comic book superhero storytelling to be like, you know what, actually, this person doesn't have that power anymore.
Yeah,
it's like, okay,
absolutely.
sure, whatever. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, it's the new 52, and this person, they lost half their memories, but that other half of their origin story still tracks. I'm like, okay, cool, thanks. That's all. That's all you need. No, that absolutely works. It is funny to think that The Rock's whole tagline of this is like, the power dynamic in the DCU is going to change. And I'm like, because of the Justice Society, right? Because they're here now. And they're very powerful. And you're just going to stay in Kahndaq, apparently.
I guess. We'll see.
We'll see if you stay in Kahndaq. But yeah, I would absolutely watch, like, it won't happen, but I would watch a Justice Society movie so fast.
I do sincerely hope
a prequel, a sequel, whatever you want to do, Justice Society.
I know he's your boy from Leverage. I do sincerely, though, hope that Aldous Hodge gets to return as Hawkman. I think it's a character that works. And to a lesser extent, Atom Smasher and Cyclone, I also think work, and I would like to see them return. Black Adam I could do without forever. Black Adam does nothing for me.
I actually liked him.
Really?
I did. I was like, it was too frequent. Like, they didn't give him anything that was like could oppose him for too long. But honestly, just seeing him wreck fools who he could easily kill for like half an hour, I had a good time. I was the people of Kahndaq cheering on Black Adam for killing intergang members. I was like, yeah, cool. Go ahead. I like this. Throw a dude into a mountain who's just a regular human. I don't get to see this happen very often. I like that you don't even use a door and you just walk through a fucking wall like an asshole. I actually had a lot of fun with Black Adam.
I will agree with one thing that you hit in there. I do like the casual violence in here. It's not like, it doesn't feel like immature hyper violence. It doesn't feel like it's the focus. It's just there, and it's a nice level. And at no point was I like, oh, it's just kind of dumb, gross out humor. I was just like, oh no, that's violent, but the right level, tastefully done.
No, I agree. It's at a weird level. This movie actually was apparently got an R rating at first, so they had to tone down a few of these, and I can't believe these are the ones that stayed in, because they're still pretty brutal. When he like burns away that one guy until he's just a skeleton. The villain, I think he tore in two, or did the villain die
rips the villain asunder. Yeah,
but yeah, the violence is in a weird way where it doesn't necessarily feel like Black Adam is particularly violent. He's just so strong that this happens. It is just him existing in the world, and this is the violence that becomes from it.
It is violent in the way that a human accidentally stepping on an anthill is violent.
Yeah.
Like, it is only violent just through the context of how unnoticeable this is to him. When he goes to throw one guy at another guy, and he's just left holding the arm, because he whipped that guy so hard that it ripped that guy's arm off and then hucked the body. I'm like, that was That was brutal, but it was just so like he like looks at the arm like, huh, like it's nothing to him, and I think that was the right level and the way to do it. I do think this movie could have used some or any fight choreography, because I think it was fun when he's like, oh, lightning bolt, you're dead. Lightning bolt, you explode. Ha, I ripped your arm off. I'm punching you into the sun. Or even like the humor of like, did anyone survive? And then a guy falling to his death in the background. I think that works. I think the ultra close-ups of walls being punched when him and Hawkman are fighting one another in the apartment is nothing. I think that most of it is just like people spinning CGI bodies in the air. There's no, and like then there's the one very Zack Snyder-y impression, slow motion to like peppy pop music. It feels very the worst aspects of the Warner Brothers DCEU, the like when he's fighting that army. There's no choreography in any way, which is really lacking. I think they handled the violence well, but there's no fight choreography in any way.
There is no fight choreography. It's like they had ideas, but no choreography. Like they were like, there's going to be a joke here where you throw this guy, but like there's no choreography involved. There's no like fight coordinator involved in that scene. I will disagree about the fighting the army in slow motion Paint It Black song. That reminded me more of like Quicksilver X-Men, and I actually really liked it because it was like a whole sequence of move this bullet a little bit, shift this a little bit, and then time sped up and we saw what it all did. And I liked getting that perspective of like, this is what the world is always like to Black Adam, not like just when he's using super speed. I'm like, I think this is constantly how he sees everything. And I actually really liked that sequence. I thought it was quite a bit of fun.
Interesting.
So these are the things that I really did enjoy. I think after that point, he had like 4 very boring fights. Yeah. Because it really was just throw a guy, hit Hawkman, Atom Smasher, hit him. Right. Not a lot of variety. Yeah. No choreography. But that one at least was CG'd to the point where it's not choreography, but it was designed.
Yes,
the fight with the army was designed at the very least. I
didn't like the style of that, but I do think that was at least one of the few moments in this movie where I'm like, you had a style you were going for, and that is one credit that I will give this film in general, is that there are some moments where I don't like it. It is not for me, but I will say this is one of the few times where it felt like it was cohesive with a larger DCEU visual tone that they're trying to keep. Because there are moments during this where I'm like, I feel like the director is making it their own, but this still feels, call it Sarah, is making it their own, but it still feels like the Snyderverse. Like I can feel the hands of Snyder everywhere. And that isn't my style, and I'm not into it, but I will give this movie credit for being the only DC movie not directed by Snyder that does feel like it takes place in the same world. And there's a consistency and at least an artistic vision that I can respect there.
I will completely agree with that. Yeah, like you can feel Snyder in kind of the hyper-violence, even though it's not violent in the way that Snyder quite gets there, but there is like, it's a world where hyper-violence exists. It's a little bit better lit. It's dark in kind of a way that doesn't piss me off the way that the darkness of Snyder, like morally and physically with lighting, pisses me off in his DCU stuff. So yeah, there definitely does feel like there's a cohesion here. That's a good, nice nice compliment.
There's a touch of Michael Bay in a lot of this as well. It's very orange and teal and a lot of fast moving edits. It really doesn't like to let the camera rest. And I'm not a huge fan of that. But when it's not Michael Bay, it does feel Zack Snyder, and that at least feels cohesive a little bit.
Now, here is not a compliment, but kind of a compliment. Just a quick one. Because what I found very weird is this is never good, is that there's a joke that I found very, very funny in the trailer that was not nearly as good in the proper movie. And I was like, oh, so the trailer cutter was a way better editor or director than the director did. I loved when Black Adam's coming towards the van, like near the very beginning, and they just roll up the windows. Rolling up the windows to stop a god is so goddamn funny. And the trailer timed it really well and paced it really well. It didn't quite work in the movie because like he'd already been approaching the van for too long, but also wasn't threatening when they started the window roll up. The rocket hadn't been shot yet. So I was like, oh, it's not good when like a trailer cutter is better at making your movie than you are.
Yeah. The movie has very insecure editing. It is very like move, constant edit. Like camera's got to move. It is very like always doing something, which does sometimes match the writing as well.
Yeah, it just makes me sad when I'm like, oh, there was a good idea for a joke right here. Like the whole movie kind of feels like that. Like, oh, there was a good idea for a scene right here, and it didn't quite come to fruition.
Yeah.
This was a good idea for a joke that didn't quite land.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that its editing is very frenetic and insecure, like a lot of the writing and the set pieces are. I think like a good example of that for me was when the family or when the main woman, I forget the Adriana, is going to get the crown, and it's like, okay, they're in the cave. Where's the crown? The crown's in a cave. Okay, but it's also above a pit. Okay, it's above a pit, and she has to jump to get to it. Okay, she has to jump to get to it above a pit, but she also has to climb a rock, and it's like, okay, it's up and it's down. Okay, and also the pit is a bottomless chasm, but also there's a hole in the top where the soldiers are coming through. It's like, you've got to pick one source of tension and move on. But the editing really matches that to be like, is this anything? Is this anything?
Have we
is
done
this
enough?
anything?
Are you entertained? Is there enough stuff happening? Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. God, that whole sequence was such a mess.
Yeah.
It's been floating there for 5,000 years in an
floats.
open cave?
It floats. It's up, but it's down. But it's in a chasm, but it's also below a hole. It's everything that every focus group said would make that scene more tense, all happening simultaneously.
But what you're describing sounds really cool. Like if someone was like, "Oh, she finds this cave and it's a crown and it's up but it's down and there's a cave but there's not a chasm." I'm like, "Oh, cool." Like so it's like intricate and they're like, "No, it's just long. Just takes her a long time to get to it."
Yeah.
And Black Adam doesn't show up until after she does.
Yeah, movie written by focus groups. It's very the feedback for Poochie. So you want someone who's completely irrelevant, but also very patched into what's happening right now? Yes. Okay. Well, that's focus groups. Well, let's take a short break in the episode. We want to thank one of our sponsors of today's episode. We want to thank our friends, The Sandman Act 3.
Oh, you should listen to the new Audible Original, The Sandman Act 3. It is the next installment of the #1 New York Times Audio Bestseller based on the best-selling DC graphic novels written by Neil Gaiman. Adapted and directed by the award-winning audio master Dirk Maggs, in Act 3, James McAvoy returns in the title role of Morpheus, Lord of Dreams. The stellar cast featured Kat Dennings, Kristen Schaal, Jeffrey Wright, Reggie Jean Page, and Neil Gaiman. New to Act 3 are David Harewood, KJ Apa, and Will Wheaton.
In Act 3, we follow Morpheus on a grand journey to take care of family business. He visits with his son Orpheus, an act that comes with profound consequences. Accompanied by delirium, he tracks down their estranged brother Destruction, the only member of the Endless ever to abandon their post. And in the end, by seeking destruction, Morpheus just might bring those forces upon himself. Act 3 of the Sandman audio epic takes us through the fan-favorite collected Volume 8, Brief Lives, and the reality storm tales of Volume 7, World's End. A fully immersive listening experience presented for the first time in breathtaking 3D audio. Go deeper into the dreaming. Listen now, only on Audible. And thank you for your support. The Sandman Act 3 Audible Original. Check it out.
Check it out right now. And
now, back to Black Adam.
You touched on a scene briefly that I did want to discuss, which is the scene where Black Adam and Hawkman fight in the bedroom and destroy all the posters. And this felt like... This was such a weird scene because it had no choreography. It was terrible. It was like unmotivated in the story. It was bad. And it just felt like they were so proud of themselves for this kind of metaphor of a scene of them like destroying the balance of power in the DCEU. It's like, Superman, we punched him in the face in this poster. The Flash, a lightning bolt went through the Flash poster. Oh, Wonder Woman, we kicked her right in the tits. It was such a weird, like, what do you think? It's not beating them up if you destroy a poster. Like, it really felt like they were like this. They thought this scene was like cool and badass. I'm like, it's a kid's bedroom full of toys.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's a 1 centimeter deep puddle. It's like, well, what about the symbolism of the symbols? And it's like, that is the most surface level, just nothing kind of an interpretation of this.
Black Adam doesn't know who those people are.
Yeah.
There is nothing symbolic happening if he's just fighting in a kid's room and destroys a bunch of posters.
Yeah.
So that scene I did find, like, yeah, it was the absolute worst for choreography, which you already complained about. But I was just like, what are we doing? Like, I think you think this is cool.
They definitely do think that that's cool.
Snydery.
Yeah.
Like, this felt like a scene that
Yeah.
that Snyder would have been like, you know what's going to be great? What's going to really set up a rivalry if Black Adam destroys a Superman poster?
Destroys a poster. It's like, okay.
Okay. And,
all right.
And your mom's name's Martha. Just so we can do that again, too.
Let's make that clear. I will say the kid, the kid who plays Amon, does a very good job. I think that this kid is rocking. I'm like, you basically just wrote Shazam again, and I'm fucking into it. I think that it's really fun. It is just Shazam twice, but sure.
I was very conflicted on this kid. I think the kid actually was like good. I didn't want him there.
Oh, I didn't want any of the family there. None of them work in any way in the larger context of the story. But I feel like this kid, I'm like, I think you might have auditioned for Billy.
Yeah, or Freddie.
Or Freddie, sorry,
The second kid who helps.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like either one of you could have got that role because you are fun, charming, quippy. You're doing it right.
No, he was exactly Freddie to the point where I'm like, this is just Freddie. Like, it's almost not interesting. I'm like, oh, we have seen this. And it also was like, also Terminator 2 again. It was a plucky child helping a murderer, but like not nearly as good as Terminator 2, obviously.
Yeah.
It was a plucky child teaching a murderer to not be quite as murderous. Although at the same time, the plucky child was also like, murder these guys who are after me. So a little bit different in that way.
I mean, John Connor was also kind of like that as well.
John Connor did want him to kill. He just wanted him to smile.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is similar to giving someone a catchphrase.
I mean,
so this is just
John
Shazam.
Connor did give him a catchphrase. He gave him Hasta La Vista, baby. Yeah.
So, all right, this is really backing me up. This is just T2 meets Freddy from Shazam.
Which I think is also why, I think that's also exactly why this doesn't work for The Rock in any way, because The Rock is just not Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, The Rock is and I don't mean this to like shit on Arnold. Arnold, like Terminator, obviously a legendary franchise. Arnold is the fucking man. But that was an Austrian bodybuilder breaking into acting. The Rock is already a charming leading man who can carry a film, and he's not being utilized right in this. He is a silent person who says the things that a kid tells him to say and doesn't have anything to do. Doesn't have any charm or wit or fun. Like, all of The Rock's best characters are people who are like kind of exasperated with everyone. Like, just someone who's like, have you seen how big I am? Why are you fighting me? That is who The Rock owns as a character. And he can play different versions of that. Sometimes it's violently exasperated of like, fuck you, Dominic Toretto, I'm a tank. And it's like, that's fun in its own way, but it has to be some version of exasperated, not just like, I'm also here, hello. It just doesn't work.
I didn't mind it. I liked seeing, I agree The Rock doesn't excel at it. Like, The Rock has been more charming and more watchable and like, definitely. But I didn't mind it just because like there is like the Justice Society's here being charming. So I don't mind this darker Rock being like doing like fake jokes about sarcasm, that I actually kind of like that whole bit with Dr. Fate about learning sarcasm, but like not even trying to learn sarcasm. I thought there was like good more meta jokes here that he was doing in a way. Yeah, I kind of liked just badass Rock. I didn't hate it. I kind of like, he is giant. I like him being unforgivingly giant for once in a movie where he does not feel bad in any way. He is just like, I'm really big and I'm going to destroy guys. And I feel like we've been waiting a long time to see that. I'm not nice.
Yeah.
Particularly in any way, shape, or form. And I don't feel bad about it. I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. So yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Interesting.
Didn't bother. I could watch this movie again.
Wow.
I skipped the first part until The Rock showed up, but
definitely. We can definitely skip. I would say that like one of my bigger problems as well with this movie, everything is a hat on a hat. It is so much of everything. Like the fact that it's just like we're starting with the flashback. The flashback is who we're going to imply Black Adam is. That wasn't Black Adam. That's Black Adam's son. And it's like the motivation then for Black Adam to be a bad guy. We're led to believe the whole movie is that he had a bad king who enslaved and murdered his people. But then the twist is he had a bad king who enslaved and murdered his people and his son. And I'm like, that's not a twist. That's actually kind of, I'm going to say, less than what the initial plot was. So it's not really a big reveal or a big twist. And then we add into that the Eternium or Ethereum or whatever it's called. Eternium. And it's like that never becomes a relevant plot point. There's no reason to introduce that. They're like, it's being mined because it has a magical rock inside underneath this country. And then also in the future, they're being taken over to mine it. And it powers magic motorcycles. And it's like, okay, cool, I guess. And then also at one point they even established they're like, it can be used to hurt Black Adam. And that's not the villain. That's not the main problem is that they're like, and then also Sauron forged the One Ring. And it's like, you don't need this magical forged piece of jewelry you already have another thing. And then you add on to that the Justice Society. Then you add on to that Amanda Waller. And I'm like, how many programs do you have, Amanda Waller? And it does feel like the DCEU being like, she is the only thing we know works. Consistently, we need Amanda Waller.
Amanda Waller, Harley Quinn. That's all we've figured out.
That's all we have figured out. And there's no reason for Amanda Waller and Task Force or Project X and their underground thing, and then the woman from Peacemaker to be in a pleather leather outfit for some reason.
That felt not wonderfully. That felt wildly desperate of like, what are the hits we have? We know Waller works and Peacemaker was a giant hit. Mm-hmm. Like, it's only a television show, but like it was beloved. It's the only thing we've made that across the board everyone liked Peacemaker. Like there are no dissenting anybody. And so it's like, I guess why else would she be here unless they were like, Peacemaker was such a huge hit.
Yeah.
We need to get this girl in. But yeah, there is so much exactly what you've said, focus testing, just breakaway paths in this. The Eternium was the worst. I agree, because Eternium it makes the crown. It also makes the bikes. It can make a shield that Black Adam cannot punch through, and that only comes up once. The fact that it was not a plot point that it can hurt Black Adam is wild. It's like the entire season of like Luke Cage where they finally made a gun that could break his skin. And that was a big deal. They finally made a gun that could break Luke Cage's skin. And they did a good job of it in that show. And here they were like, oh yeah, that Eternium rocket like really hurt him. It knocked him unconscious. We have more, but we won't use them. They have more of them.
And they don't use it.
They have kryptonite, basically.
Yeah, that's the metaphor I was going to use. It is a Superman movie where they're like, we've mined a meteor of kryptonite. We've got a bunch of it, and I put it somewhere safe. Don't worry about it. I also have a magic ring. Like, well, then why are we doing that? Why would you bring up the one? It's so many hats on a hat.
There is like everything just continues for too long. Like this movie could be 25 minutes shorter. Like the structure is wild. There's way too many fights between the Justice Society and Black Adam. I think there's 4 or 5. There should be 2 at max. When we like kill the main guy Ishmael, like after like the shield comes down and he blows up with the thing, the movie feels like it's done for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The pacing just drops right out. We put Black Adam in the water. And then we keep having more and more scenes before Ishmael comes back with superpowers. I was like looking at my watch. I'm like, is this guy going to come back with superpowers or are we genuinely done?
We get 20 minutes where we figure out like the emotional arc and theme of the movie for our lead characters, Hawkman and Dr. Fate. Yeah. Like it is the beginning and end of this movie, of the Black Adam movie, do not have Black Adam in it.
No, he has no arc. They think the reveal that he's the dad and not the son is something, and it's not anything.
It's not if anything, it's less powerful.
And again, they've already done what I think they think is powerful is the sharing of powers, giving up your power to save someone you love. But Shazam already did it better again. Like Shazam gave all of his adopted siblings the power of Shazam. I'm like, I've seen this story done incredibly well. Shazam's a really good movie. So like just this weird, terribly told story about your kid giving you the power. And it's like, why didn't you give him the power back after he got shot, by the way? Like just keep transferring it.
Yeah.
Is it a one time only? Like you can't give it back once you've had it? Like how does this magic work?
And once again, lies aren't twists because then they have the wizards took back the power, and it cuts to shout out to Jimon Hansu, always gets the assignment, always crushing it, never does a goddamn wrong thing in his entire life and career. It is October 21st, 2022 when I am saying that. So in case he's in trouble later, don't hold me to that.
It comes out on Monday.
But
you got a couple of days.
But Jimon Hansu as the wizard is fantastic. But when we have these flashbacks, it's like, and then the wizards took it back, and it's Jimon being like, we gave it to the wrong person. You weren't worthy. And it's like, you didn't give it to him. Of course he wasn't. None of these are lies. Lies aren't twists. This is inherently nonsense for the story you're telling.
No, 100%. What else was...
Shout out to the Shazam Council, though. Like, glad that they're coming back. A different Shazam Council other than the primary wizard.
We haven't even talked about all these hats on hats on hats. The Ishmael, the main bad guy, when he gets powers, brings skeleton zombies to life.
I forgot about the skeleton zombies.
Out of fucking nowhere, there's skeleton zombies. The Justice Society does not fight them. It's just the mom and the uncle.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did you waste your budget on this?
And the citizens of Kahndaq as well, which also... this is such a 90s action movie thing where it's like, and everyone was so inspired by the hero, they all teamed together to do a thing that none of them knew was happening or why. So it's like this moment where the kid stands up and does the diamond in the air symbol, and he's like, why aren't we doing it? Doing what, first of all?
They didn't see the zombies. They have no idea.
Well, the zombies don't even exist yet. At that
point, did he do it? He did it 3 times. He did it too many times.
So when the fight's going on, it is I think when Black Adam and the devil are having the fight, but the skeletons don't exist yet, and the kid's like, diamond sign, we can do it, and it cuts to all the people of Kahndaq who are digging family members out of rubble. They're not running and screaming. They're not surrendering. They're just trying to live. And everyone's like, you're right, we can do it. Do what? And then he's like, get it together, everyone. And they all get weapons and wander down random streets until later the devil makes lava skeletons appear. And it's not even the people who've been murdered by Black Adam, which would have been thematically relevant to be like, the more people you murder, the more powerful I get. You have to be a hero. Heroes don't kill.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
It's not the mercenaries who Black Adam has killed who stand up and their bones crunch and they're alive. And it's not a cemetery. It is just straight up Jason and the Argonaut skeletons that just poof into existence.
And only in one spot, and the mom and the uncle are the only ones fighting them for no reason. Just run away.
They don't have to fight them.
They have no weapons. They have no skills.
And then the kid comes around the corner on his skateboard, and he's like, I inspired all of them to do it. Again, do what? And all of the people of Kahndaq come around the corner, and everyone's just like, of course, lava skeletons are alive.
Nobody blinks. Nobody is like, holy shit, lava skeletons. Are there usually lava skeletons in Kahndaq?
There's no reason for the people rise up and fight lava skeletons.
Absolutely none. I like your idea that they could have at least been killed by Black Adam to give him a little bit of grief about killing people. My idea was the Intergang was working with Ishmael. So why weren't they given powers from Ishmael so the people could at least literally fight Intergang? The people who had been oppressing them for 80 years, but instead it was random skeletons. I'm like, where did Intergang go? I want them to kill the guys from Intergang.
Intergang also just disappeared in the background.
Just very important for the first half of this film.
Yeah, so important in the first half of this film. Like, the child narrator is like, here's the story from 3,000 years ago. Also, now it's present day. There's hover bikes, intergang mines, Eternium, and we're under oppression by them. Black Adam kills like 12 intergang over the course of the movie. And then like the ending VO is just like, and intergang were gone.
Now, I believe intergang were gone because Black Adam stuck around and they all retired. Black Adam is still in Kahndaq at the end of this movie, and they've seen all their fellows been murdered by him.
Sure.
So I do believe intergang is gone, but like they're gone too early. They're gone They're gone as soon as the
and
plot
off screen.
didn't need them to be there.
If the intimidation of Black Adam is what ends the thread of the plot, we could stop this movie at any given time. So it feels really
Fair.
stupid to end the movie to be like, and they left because they were scared.
What's also annoying is that like there are a few like genuinely interesting ideas here that I want explored. Like when the Justice Society shows up and the mom is like, you have literally never come to help us before. Because we're like a Middle Eastern country. And I'm like, that's very interesting. That is actually something a movie should explore. And then like the Justice Society literally just doesn't say anything and they never touch upon it again. And I'm like, that actually is like a really good point. That you've never come to help or hinder. Like you've never done anything until they had their own superhero. I'm like, that sounds right. And the movie didn't have anything to say about that. They're just like, we pointed it out though. And I'm like, I really actually like, this would be a very interesting film if you explored this, if you looked into this. Like, you're also not really exploring whether you should kill or not, your heroes or villains. You act like you are. You guys are acting like you've like had a really good lesson happening here, like a TED Talk about killing villains and showing mercy. And I'm like, I don't think anyone took a lesson away. I think Hawkman's going to still not kill. And I think Black Adam's going to still kill.
I agree with that.
So I think we're ending where we started. So it's like a movie that thinks it has like such interesting things to say. And it's like, no, it's destroying the DC posters all over again. It's
a meaning, and even Hawkman is like, we don't kill. I've captured Black Adam, and now I'm sending him to the Black Ops site run by the woman who runs the Neck Bomb crew. Like you know, or you should know, Amanda Waller's bad. And you don't work for her, and that's also weird.
That was another thing when Waller showed up, like, immediately. Like, she was introduced as, like, with Hawkman, and they're, like, going on a mission. I was like, so my first thought initially was, like, does the Justice Society have bombs in their head? Do they have to do this? Like, that's all Amanda Waller's whole thing in the DCEU. Not a lot of voluntary mission work happening involving Amanda Waller. So I can't wait for the reveal that they did have bombs in their heads. Hey, Cyclone was like, I was kidnapped and experimented on. There's definitely a bomb in her head.
I think that Amanda Waller worked so well that they have no idea why she works, and they are going to use her into the ground. That in any given DC movie that follows this continuity, it will be like, Amanda Waller is the president, Superman's best friend, and also the illegal terrorist of the world. She will be anything and everything that they want them to be.
She's Batman.
Yeah.
Sorry, Affleck. It's Amanda Waller.
And fine. Like, I think that like that is kind of where Warner Brothers is at with her and her character, which is just gonna use it into the ground.
Other plot things. Okay, this was my infuriating one. I actually think this is the most infuriating one. So we got all these superpowers. We got the Justice Society and Black Adam have agreed to work together to save this kid, and they have to save the kid from a bunch of humans in a mine, and they know where the mine is, and they are so powerful, and they're like, we'll go in at dawn, and then they wait to go in at dawn, and I'm like, it's a bunch of regular humans in a cave. What the fuck are you talking about?
They wait, and then they go in, and then Black Adam goes in early.
Is this a D&D campaign where you needed a short rest? What the hell is happening? There was literally no reason. None of you were injured. There was no reason that you couldn't be like, let's go save a child right now, instead of making a kidnapped child wait 12 more hours.
Right, and also rescued. Letting the villains have time to set up.
To build an Ethereum shield, which I don't think they had before this moment.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so we need 12 minutes to make our shield, or 12 hours to make our shield. I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe a lot of this.
That's fair. That's fair. I liked it more than you, so the points that bothered me more, I think, whereas you were like a general bothered the whole time.
I was a general disdain. Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, the Justice Society works though. There's one detail that I did enjoy that they did with Black Adam, and a part of it I can't even quite pinpoint what it is that they did differently. But I enjoy the way that they have Black Adam fly and hover. I really like that for the first half of this movie, he doesn't bother to step foot on the ground. And I think that that really aligns with in who Black Adam is as a character. And it is very much an immediate visual distinction of this isn't Superman. This is someone who... being powerful is as easy as breathing to him, and he is making no effort to make you comfortable. He does not care about your comfort. He does not care if you view him as an equal or a savior. He is. And I think that like that constant hovering for about half the movie, I think until he decides to talk to the kid or whatever, then he steps foot on the ground for the first time. That's very intimidating, and I think great visual language. And also they just have him fly a little differently than Superman. There's something about like, it's where his body pulls from, and I can't quite tell where it is, where it's like Superman's from the shoulders and like he's moving like from the core, or like, it's like there's a different part of his body being yanked when he flies as opposed to Superman. And I don't quite know what it is, but it looks and feels different.
I would say he's flying more like he's running through the air because he flies vertically, whereas Superman flies horizontally. Like he never tilts.
Shit, yeah, you're right.
He's basically like Flash running through the air, except his legs aren't moving, but he's moving like he's running. Whereas Superman, he tilts over and he flies straight at you, fist first. But yeah, Black Adam just hovers, and then when he needs to go somewhere, he's like, and this is how I would walk if I was on the ground, but I'll just do it through flight.
Huh, yeah.
And it's cool. It is really different. And it's more like how Namor seems to be flying in the Black Panther trailers.
Yeah.
Like up straight, not tilted over.
Interesting.
So yeah, I think that's what it is. I also really like that he hovered the whole time. I don't even think I noticed it until like halfway through. And then I was like, The Rock has been in a harness this whole movie, which also probably doesn't help the like being in the same scene as someone, because you can't do that on set the whole time. So it makes you CG'd a lot. But I think actually it was a really cool idea that they committed to early, because they would have had to film every scene this way. And it did make it quite powerful when he decided, he stepped on the ground when he surrendered to Hawkman.
Okay. Yeah.
He had walked before, but that's because he woke up in the kid's room and he had to walk to get out of it. So I think the first time he like steps is when he surrenders to Hawkman. So I actually did think that was like a pretty powerful, actually a good idea, as opposed to just destroying some DCEU posters. I think this is actually like a cool symbol of him like showing humility and coming literally down to the ground at your level.
Yeah. It's one of the few things that is symbolism that has more than one layer to it,
Yeah,
the destroying of the symbols is like, I could punch Superman. Look at me, I'm destroying the concept of Superman. Whereas this is like, unlike Superman, I do not care about the comfort of people because I've both literally and figuratively above them. And yeah, there's a little bit more complexity to that than there is to the rest of the movie.
Yeah, and eventually I learn a little bit of humility and equality with my equals, and that I have to step down literally from my position. Yeah, no, genuinely, absolutely works. Superman's here.
And that's the post credit is Superman's here, which is surprise. I really don't know what the heck. And I'm getting frankly tired of saying this, because I think for a long time now, during anytime we've covered a DC movie, we have at some point said the sentence, I don't know what's going on with DC and Warner Brothers. It has happened for The Suicide Squad. It happened when we talked about Birds of Prey, the Snyder Cut, and then Joker and the Batman, where it's like where they're doing standalones. They're not doing it. The
DCU is breaking up now. There's no more big team movies.
The band's coming back together now. I guess they got Henry to come back.
They did, which is crazy, because like Affleck's not supposed to be Batman anymore after Flashpoint, but now he's in Flashpoint, I guess, or Aquaman or whatever they're doing with that.
Yeah.
And it's like we thought everything was closing up. Like, it's like, it feels like you're putting up chairs and you're closing up for the night. It's like, we're going to be back tomorrow with brand new stuff. We're going to open up the restaurant again. Don't worry about any of the stuff that was here today. I'm like, but Henry Cavill just came back. Like, are you going to have like a Flashpoint Paradox reset? Is this a setup for, we are going to cancel that Flash movie and there won't be a Flashpoint Paradox reset?
Right. Or what? Yeah. What are we reshooting? And there's parts of this movie too, even like the Justice Society just existing, where I'm like, was the Flash movie supposed to have happened by now?
Ooh,
is another thing.
It was actually. That's a good point.
Because that is the other, to kind of go into the industry side or the news side of things, which some of our listeners might know some of this news. I think a lot of you might not. But so, for example, the next Aquaman movie, Ben Affleck filmed scenes as Batman in that movie.
No, Keaton did.
Affleck filmed it replacing Michael Keaton.
I'm sorry.
So Michael Keaton was supposed to be Batman in the Aquaman movie, and they replaced those scenes with Ben Affleck. And again, and this is an open fact, due to focus testing, because audiences said they're confused. And scrapping Michael Keaton because audiences can't keep up is very insulting. But that was because Aquaman was supposed to come out after Flashpoint. Now it's coming out before. So they're like, the Keaton thing doesn't make sense without Flashpoint. The Flash movie being fucked, I think, has fucked a bunch of shit and caused reshoots and this and that. And I would not entirely be surprised if the idea of the Justice Society is supposed to be something that comes after a Flashpoint movie. But that also assumes that WB has their shit together in any way and, aren't just like, we paid for Henry Cavill by doing weird tax fraud by deleting a bunch of our shows from our streaming services.
If we remove Batgirl, we can add Superman.
Yeah, if we burn 9 buildings to the ground, we can rent this condo or whatever creative accounting they're doing. So it's all such a confusing mess, but I guess Cavill's back. Like,
it's going to be really weird if this is the last appearance of Cavill ever, right? Because, like, there's no Superman movie confirmed. He might be in Flashpoint. I have no idea. The DCEU is a mess. The power balance has shifted, I guess, in a lot of ways, in that you're very not powerful, DCEU.
Oh, yeah. It's the power balance has shifted to Zaslav, is who the new president of Warner Brothers is who the power balance. Yeah, who just cares about Property Brothers and the concept of Batman. Those are the two things that Zaslav cares about. I will say I'm excited that Cavill is there. As much as I'm not invested in the DCEU, I think that Henry Cavill is a good Superman who deserves better, and I keep hoping he's going to get it.
Yeah, Cavill deserves to be Superman not directed by Snyder.
Yeah, not directed by someone brooding.
Yeah.
Which does worry me, because even in this scene when he shows up, it's like, I'm here to intimidate you because the world's scared. And I'm like, I really feel like Superman, and my interpretation and the Superman I like, is the one who shows up and would be like, a new superpower person just showed up and has calmed down and would show up and be like, hi, I'm Superman, and go to shake his hand and be weirdly like polite and not like, you better watch yourself because Amanda Waller also tells me what to do.
Okay, that part I don't agree with. Amanda Waller should not be ordering Superman around. I will say the appearance I thought was fine because his first line was, let's talk. He didn't want to fight him. He wasn't like, I'm going to laser your eyes out. He was just like, he literally said, let's talk. And I think that is very Superman. Fair. Being sent around, but Amanda Waller apparently runs everybody, I guess. She runs Hawkman and Dr. Fate, and they're just got like a program, I guess. Maybe there's some kind of registration act in the DCEU now, and they've all registered.
They have to do it that way. But excited to see Cavill. I will say I think it's somewhat insulting to Shazam that like.
Oh, because Shazam only got legs in their after credit scene. Oh, that's not what you were talking about.
Now I know what you mean.
Because the Shazam after credit scene
they didn't get Cavill.
I'm friends with Superman, and they did not get Cavill.
I mean the fact that the Black Adam after scene wasn't Shazam.
Yes.
The fact that like The Rock was like, no, Shazam gets his own movie. I'm his big villain. We'll build to that. And that Dwayne The Rock Johnson was like, I get Superman or no one. Like, just Shazam is not a big enough character for me to interact with.
I mean, that is one interpretation. My interpretation from a kind business point would be Shazam 2 is already coming out and The Rock's not in it. So, like, it would be weird to have Shazam show up and then not have The Rock be in Shazam 2.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's my kind interpretation of... But also, Shazam is not big enough for The Rock. I agree.
I honestly, even if the DCEU is salvaged, it comes back from the brink of death, and they do another 20 movies, we're never seeing Black Adam interact with Shazam. I flat out feel like The Rock is like, I get a solo movie, or I'm the captain of the Justice League. And I feel like DC Warner Brothers is so scared and only wants to do box office draws that they'll just be like, you're the only reliable thing we'll count on. Whatever The Rock wants, The Rock is going to get.
Which is almost a shame because, like, as you said earlier, The Rock works best when he's very frustrated. Like in Red Notice, it was him and Ryan Reynolds was really, like, pushing him to his, like, extreme of frustrations. So Shazam and Black Adam with a little bit of charm to him actually would be very fun.
He's legitimately the perfect casting for Black Adam if at any point in this movie he got to be Black Adam, and if he had to interact with a character that was Shazam or Shazam-like. And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's Black Adam.
I'm feeling good about Black Adam. I'm feeling good about, getting things off my chest about Black Adam.
I'm glad it is off your chest.
I'm glad you had a good time, though. I'm not trying to yuck your yum.
No, you didn't yuck any of my yum. You've convinced me of nothing. I still really enjoyed it. No offense, I guess.
I feel fine about that.
I'm hoping maybe I found a little bit more joy for you.
Oh, no.
No. Okay, so we are both Hawkman and Black Adam. We're ending where we started.
We are an unstoppable force and an immovable object.
There have been no lessons throughout this podcast. We
Wonderful.
learned nothing.
Well, let's go in for the close and see if we have learned what we would change. So we'll ask the final question that we always ask, which is, what would you change about this if you could change anything? Before we do ask the final question, we want to thank our other wonderful sponsor of today's episode. We want to thank our friends over at ExpressVPN.
We're going to tell you about ExpressVPN. Our good friends, they'll help you out when people try to track, spy, or profit off of you. That's no good. But even better, do you guys know you can watch more stuff with ExpressVPN than you currently have access to?
Yeah, you can change your region. You can watch region-locked content on whatever streaming service that you might be watching. It's so good for so many reasons. First of all, it's so easy to use. I've got it installed on many different devices. It's one button. I hit it, and then my whatever surfing or browsing I'm doing thinks that I'm in the UK or the US or wherever I tell it to trick these people into thinking that I am. And that is great for privacy, it's great for security, but it's also great for region-locked content, which we are located in Canada, and a lot of the times in Canada, things are blocked from us, which is absurd and frankly rude.
We want more things. So ExpressVPN lets you choose from over 90 different countries. So every time you run out of stuff to watch, you just fire up the app on your laptop or smart TV, switch your country, hit connect, refresh. You'll have way more content on your streaming service that you can enjoy right off the bat.
Yeah, and one thing that I find very wonderful about a service like ExpressVPN being able to switch regions and get content is that sometimes content isn't available, period, in certain countries as well, which I find, and sometimes there's like, oh, it's on this service in this country and a different service in another. Oftentimes here in Canada, it'll be like it's on this service in the US, and in Canada, it does not exist because they did not find the deal that they wanted with someone to distribute it in Canada. And I'm like, I have money and I would like to give it to you for this, please. And ExpressVPN then allows me to get access to all of these wonderful goodies.
Yeah, even goodies like that you're like, I want to support this, but I literally can't access it. You can access it with ExpressVPN. That's why it's rated #1 by CNET, Wired, TechRadar, and countless others.
So visit expressvpn.com/TFS right now to get 3 extra months of their service for free. That is expressvpn.com/TFS. expressvpn.com/TFS to learn more. And thank you, ExpressVPN, for your support.
Thank you, ExpressVPN.
And as well, before we go in for the final question, we will remind you, our wonderful listeners, as we do every week, if you want to support the podcast, 2 ways to do it. First one, free. All you got to do, rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever you get your podcasts.
Love free things. You guys, you want a free thing? Go rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
It's a free thing for you. It's a free thing for us. It helps us move up the charts and find new listeners. And as well, if you want to support the show monetarily, you can do that over on our Patreon page, which is a monthly subscription service where you can subscribe at whatever is in your budget, and you'll get exclusive content and bonuses depending on your subscription level. So you can do 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, whatever you can afford. Any given month, you can cancel or change your level if you need to. And at the $10 hero level, you get a bonus episode of this podcast exclusive for our patrons every single month. This month, since it's spooky Halloween month, we did the original Hocus Pocus. That is so much fun.
It was such a good time. Here's a little spoiler. If you have a knife, that's a threat.
That's a threat.
And if you've heard the episode, you know what that's all about. It was a lot of fun. And also at the $10 level, you get immediate access to all the old episodes. You get way more talk from superheroes right away.
So head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That's patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. Have a look, see what's in your budget. Everything that you do goes straight to us, and it helps support the network. It helps this, and it gets you cool bonuses as well.
Win-win.
Win-win-win. So thank you to current, past, and future patrons. We appreciate you. And now, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? Diana, what would you change?
Despite being alike, there's a lot to change here. It's hard to pick one thing. Quick change, it's like 20 minutes shorter. It's not even that long. It's a 2-hour flat movie, but it doesn't need to be. So it's 20 minutes shorter. I don't know how. I don't care. My biggest change, though, is we did talk about how no one has an arc. So I'm going to add an arc for Hawkman and Black Adam, actually. So my change is going to be when Black Adam kind of surrenders himself to Hawkman and he says, make sure I don't hurt anyone again, or whatever he says to him. He expects Hawkman to kill him, is my change. He's like, you're going to kill me. And then Hawkman just knocks him out. He's like, that's not how I do things. I show mercy. And then Black Adam wakes up and he's alive and he can save the day. And like he learns that there is a reason to show mercy. It's kind of more drawn out and more clear that is a lesson that he's just learned, that like by showing mercy, people can change, they can redeem themselves. You don't have to kill everyone who's ever crossed your path and done any single wrong thing. So he learns the value of mercy, but also at the same time, it's going to be drawn. This kind of happens, but there wasn't a lot of attention drawn to it. Hawkman is going to learn that sometimes you have to kill a guy because they just kill Ishmael, the devil. And so I want a little bit more of an interaction between them of being like, you know what, sometimes you do just have to kill a guy. You're right. Or some kind of fun line about that, I think would be very good, of like, they both do learn a little bit of a lesson. It's still very gray, but this whole movie is very gray kind of on purpose, of like there is not a clear answer of what to do in any given situation. So I just want a little bit more between them of like, we've both learned and we both respect each other at the end of the day. And I do feel like we could be friends/teammates in a separate movie, like again, if we meet up again. So yeah, just like a little bit of a change there where they learn off each other about you don't have to kill, but also you really can if necessary. Because it's not one answer for everything.
I like that.
That's my change.
I like that as a lesson. That would be nice. I would love to see that.
A double lesson.
I love a double lesson.
There are no absolutes. It's not never kill and it's not always mercy. It's mediums. And
love it.
That's my change. Andrew, what would you change?
Oh
God, how are you gonna pick what you change?
Right. I like yours. I'm definitely on board with that. I want to keep that. I would say that my two biggest changes. And it's going to be 2. The family, gone.
Okay.
They don't exist. They do not exist in this movie. There's too many characters. There's too many plot lines. Too many hats on hats. And speaking of hats, the crown, gone. The crown is flat out gone. The problem is the oppressors of Kahndaq have the magic crystal. That's enough of it's a magic crystal that allows them to have teleporting hover bikes, and it can hurt Black Adam. That is and it creates force fields that are impenetrable. It essentially turns Kahndaq into Wakanda under a foreign occupation.
Wakandaq.
There we go. So we don't need, and also I think that really kind of like kills any of the emotion. The fact that the devil crown exists kills any of the emotion of what all of these things are going, where it's just like, you don't need to have a crown forged by the devil to be an oppressor.
Yeah, the guys who don't have the crowns are doing a great job of it.
Yeah.
They do not have a demon crown, and they're like, we've oppressed this country for hundreds of years.
So this whole backstory of like we were slaves and forced to mine, and the king would then kill us, and we'd be stabbed and thrown into the pits. But also the king has a crown made by the devil. I'm like, that king's bad. I'm already for that king being bad. Then in the future, it's someone else who's like, I'm of the lineage of that, so I paid a bunch of mercenaries to take my country back by force. We do not need a crown from the devil. So the only weapon is the Ethereum. And I think it is just The Rock and the JSA both have different ideas on how to solve the problem in this country. Yeah. And one is a peaceful foreign invader, which is an oxymoron in itself. And he is a violent nationalist, which is a trouble within itself. And we have to figure out how those two opposing ideals can get along to stop a greater threat. So I think that's the story. It is the JSA and Black Adam have to take down an oppressor who has magic guns, armor, and a bunch of other stuff.
I can get behind that. There's too much happening in this movie. Yeah. It cleans it up. Makes it easier. Makes it easier to cut through. We're gonna cut like 20 minutes out of that opening monologue about stupid.
Oh, the whole monologue.
Crown.
Whole opening monologue is gone.
Oh, we don't need to find the crown then in the beginning.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Oh.
And also we just find out all of his backstory through him telling it as the movie goes on. The opening monologue is so insecure.
So you want to give The Rock lines as well.
I would also like to.
You would like The Rock to have lines.
I know where I've tried to concise it to 2, but no opening monologue. The Rock has lines. Okay, the family is gone. The crown is gone. It is The Rock and the JSA trying to take down an oppressor who has magic bullets, and the lesson they have to learn from one another is that you should kill less, and sometimes you can kill because I like your idea a lot. That's what they have to learn from one another, which is, minimize the killing, please. Yeah.
Excellent. I think we did it.
I think we did it. Yeah. This movie needs a lot less.
Yeah. Yeah, less is more in this movie.
Yeah. Less is I think that is true of a lot of the movies we talk about on this podcast.
Hey, not the Scorpion King.
Not the Scorpion King. This now goes to one of the 2 Rock movies that I did not fully enjoy.
What was the other one? I can't remember.
Hercules.
Oh, right, you said that because he's barely in it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be it for this week. That's going to be it for Black Adam. We are going to be back next week talking about the Winchesters.
Oh, what a treat.
Yes.
Diana watched 15 seasons of Supernatural and Andrew didn't.
I watched 0. So you're going to get 2 different perspectives next week when we talk about the first 3 episodes of the Winchesters. I hope that I'm telling you the truth and they don't move the release date as they have previously.
I think some of them are already out.
Well,
Yeah.
we're good.
We're fine.
So we'll be back next week talking about that. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can find me online at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can reach me at Words of Diana.
And you can reach both of us at From Superheroes, and we'll talk to you all next week.
Bye.